Welcome back to another race day vlog. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. Normally you all see me and my brain is like, woo, woo, woo. Like, it's just that. Today it's like, ooh. She's doing a thing. I don't know what she's doing. She hasn't woken up yet. She hasn't had her coffee. I don't know. Anyway, I know the last time we saw each other was with streaking. And I said, oh yeah, we'll see each other again on Saturday because we have to go to watch Mikasa run. And then that video never came. She's fine. It's just summer in Kentucky. And so she got some mucus in her, airways. Pollen, dust, summer. That time of year. It's not that uncommon. And obviously, they kind of need to be able to breathe when they run. And so we scratched her. She did put in a work recently, so I'm assuming that she's getting ready to be re-entered here soon again. It's just a matter of finding a race, because sometimes that's the hardest freaking part of the whole shebang. Anyway, where are we going today? We're going to Horseshoe, Indiana again. So we're going back up to Indiana to actually watch streaking go again. It's been about 3 weeks since we've seen her. She came back out of her last race really great, and then she put in a really solid work, and they entered her again. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, that being said, this field is a lot tougher than the last one, and you're probably like, okay, how on earth can you tell if a race full of a bunch of first-time starters or horses who've only ever had one start, if, this race is tougher? A lot of it, again, it's just word of mouth and just us chattering. I remember the names, not the numbers this round on accident. So I'm trying to remember the numbers. The 3 is a Vekoma. Vekoma, we are seeing his very first babies run this year, and they've been doing very, very well. The percentage of winners to runners he's had has been very, very high. But also the 6. Yes, that is the 6. There was a lot of talk about her, and the people who actually own her are the same people who owned the filly that beat us last time, and they were like, yeah, this filly's better. And originally they had her entered for Churchill, and they had her entered for Indiana, and I was hoping so bad. I was like, go to Churchill, you do not need to come to Indiana, go to Churchill. And they didn't go to Churchill, they came to Indiana, and I was like, rude. So she was kind of the big one, and it was just kind of one of those things that we were like, okay, just take her to the front if that's what she wants to do, and just let her rip and see what happens. It's kind of the thought process. So was there anyone else interesting in the race? There was, I think it was the 5. She was an Army Mule. Yes, I typically never say anything bad about Army Mule. They're not always first time outs, but they do tend to do really well their 2, 3, 4-year-old year. So anyway, that was kind of the thought process and the game plan. Kind of. She's heard the 1 hole again, which we weren't overly thrilled about, but what can you do? Nothing. We don't control that. So yeah. Like I said, my brain right now is just like, she's not firing. Anyway, I guess we're gonna go to Indiana to watch streaking run and recap after.
They're off, racing 5 furlongs and streaking peels away for Marcelino Pedrosa Jr. La Lily in the black cap, with Toodaloo running a close third, making his dash past the half-mile pole. Studio Hall nicely into fourth and now making headway. My Mama Says a wide fifth. Then toward the inside, that first-time starter, the Combinator, who's joined on the outside by Clay Basket with 3 furlongs to go, and the first-time starter, Mama's the Cause Trails. So they round the far turn, it's streaking with the rail. Right there is La Lily in between fillies, and Studio Hall coming with a 3-path bid now for Evan Roman as these maiden 2-year-old fillies turn for home. It's Studio Hall. Studio Hall has swept in front with authority from streaking toward the rail, coming down toward the final furlong. It's Studio Hall in front, slightly edges left, but is clear of streaking. Down toward the final 16th, Clay Basket's running on into third. La Lily's fourth, Toodaloo is fifth. To this newcomer by Instilled Regard, Studio Hall with a first out decisive victory by 5. Clay Basket was second, streaking third. The Combinator with a late bid.
All right, now let's break it down. Again, she's coming out of the one hole. For those of you who don't really understand the distaste for the one hole, especially with these shorter races, is you're kind of forced to go to the front and like really go for it, or else you risk getting squished in and locked in on that rail. They went a lot faster this round compared to her last round too. So she kind of had to like actually run the full race, not, you know, pick a spot, relax, settle, and then pick back up around the turn when it's actually go time. You know, that, again, it's another thing when you're running these shorter races. Anyway, she'd been sitting here pretty. I had a feeling pretty much right about here that I was like, yeah, that 6 is going to blow on by us, and they do. But like I said, there's kind of been a bit of a rumbling about this filly. I know that the owners and the trainer are pretty optimistic, even though that was a little green, she kind of a little wiggly there, but you know, it's fine. We stay our course. We're just kind of vibing in second, and then this 7 is going to come flying from the back, and she's going to beat us to the wire. Overall, no real complaints. She obviously tried, and so far in her 2 starts, she has yet to be off the board, which is definitely a plus. Overall, not a bad race, no complaints. Definitely the difference between this race and the last race was definitely just the time. The last race, she was able to kind of get up front and just relax and settle a little bit before actually having to do some work. This time she definitely kind of had to go like the entire time. She didn't really have the option to kind of sit and relax because the others were kind of just sitting right there off of her. Overall, I know I recommended, like I had talked a little bit about it last time, and I feel like it's kind of hard to describe to some people who don't necessarily know per se what they're looking at, but the way she moves almost kind of looks a little bit turfy per se. Like it looks like she might run better on the turf, and I had mentioned that last time. I would be curious to see how she does on the turf, and this time someone else had, one of our partners also mentioned, like, yeah, honestly I would be kind of curious to see her on the turf too. She does look a little bit turfy. She's kind of like also like a little bit of a smaller filly, so like we know she's probably not going to go distance wise, so most of what she's going to be doing is sprint, and so sometimes the turf can be a little bit easier, a little bit just, I don't know, it can be hard to explain sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, overall, no real complaints. I wouldn't be overly surprised if we potentially try her on the turf next time out, but at the same time she might run on the dirt. Who knows? Right now is that time of the year though that is best to try and attempt it rather than waiting for the fall, because when you get to the fall you run into the risk of more just muck, weather, wet, muddy stuff, you know what I mean? Right now it's summer, so things tend to stay fairly dry for the most part. But yeah, I have a feeling we'll probably see her, we'll see her in about 4 to 6 weeks. I'm technically doing this a little bit later, so I'll do that sometimes. If you ever see that like I post like 2 weeks and I actively, and then 2 weeks later there's another video of the same horse, and you're like, I thought you said, and like unless I don't explicitly be like, oh yeah, it's been like 2 weeks or 4 weeks, sometimes I'm just a little delayed with actually posting because YouTube takes forever sometimes to load things. But it's like I'm already like a week behind on this video, so ideally I think she'll run in about 4 to 6 weeks this round. I would like to see it on the turf. Next time out, or the next race we'll probably go to, is either going to be Mikasa or Peaches. Ironically, both of those two will probably be on the turf too. It looks like all 3 of my children are currently enjoying, or potentially enjoying, the grass, the turf. I know at the beginning of this video I had mentioned that Mikasa had a little mucus, and then she had worked, and she's been fine. She actually worked again since then, and she had a bullet, which is the fastest work, and it was a really nice, easy, just chill work, and she just smoked them. And they said Peach also worked, and that she was like a fire-breathing dragon and dragging everybody back to the barn. She was super hyped. So hopefully that's a good thing. She enjoyed her little break, and we'll see her run lights out next time out. Hopefully. Anyway, so that is kind of the gist. Obviously, she did great. She came out of the race fine. She's doing great. She's just back to jogging right now. The other two fillies, we should hopefully see them here soon. And yeah, I feel like I'm finally, I've been very just bleh the past like 3 weeks, because this happened, and then I got sick twice with 2 different things at the same time that this happened. And so like my entire being has just been like, I'm finally, like as of yesterday, started feeling more like myself. And so I'm like slowly crawling out of whatever chaotic mind dump that I had sucked myself into. Like, I'm finally cleaning my room. Like, I hadn't cleaned my room in 3 weeks, which stressed me out because I tend to keep my room very clean. And she looked like she was like half of a hospital and half of just a nest of blankets. She was just scaring me. Now I have laundry. And my next thing that I want to knock out is that bookshelf. Hopefully. Well, okay. That's gonna take some time, but you know what I mean. Anyway, hopefully next time y'all see me, I'm a lot more uppity and my normal rambly self, and not just this monotoned blah 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 blah. You know? Anyway, so until next time.